We got a rising movement of people wanting Need for Speed to become a Simcade for some reason. And I am here to be the voice of common sense and reason and shut that stuff down ASAP. Bro, I promise y'all that Simcade is not the answer to your problems in any way, shape, or form. Put the bottle of Don Julio down. Or if you're underage, because I know some of y'all are, put the candy away. It's affecting your way of thinking rationally. I want to drive my car and I want my car to be able to slide around a corner at 200 miles per hour and not feel like I'm about to crash because the super realistic weight distribution has shifted the atoms in the gas tank from the left side an inch to the right side, causing the windshield wipers to change the aerodynamics of the car and make me spin out. Can you all just let us be happy and drive in this goofy arcade racer? Now, I have never played Pro Street, but apparently it's not as arcadey as the other Need for Speed games. Every time I read a post asking for them to switch Need for Speed around and make it go towards Simcade, Pro Street is always in the conversation. So naturally, I have put 2 and 2 together. Let me know how close I am in the comments. Keep Need for Speed in the arcade section. We got Crew and Forza for the Simcade stuff. And if you really want to be a big baller, then go play Assetto. Go play GT7, which has real racing simulator literally in the name of the game. Don't be coming for Need for Speed, my guy. Yeah, the next game isn't dropping till we are all in our 40s, but it better not be anything close to realistic. I know Battlefield is a touchy subject right now, but we all gotta put on our big boy and big girl pants and be able to mention it without crying. We are no longer in the angry and sad stages of grief. We have moved on to the acceptance stage. Need for Speed is like Call of Duty, while Forza and Crew are like Battlefield. Hey, both of them are shooters, yes. Just like how all the games are technically racing games. Except you cannot play Battlefield like Call of Duty. Go try and dolphin dive off a 2-story building in Battlefield and see how far you make it. Battlefield is more technical. They got a bunch of weapon stats and tuning for guns, along with specific classes and all that sort of jazz. Meanwhile, you got Call of Duty, where it used to be like this anyway. You get the pick 10 system, and you put rapid fire and a red dot and a suppressor, and you're good. That's it. All that to say that one is for people who want a somewhat in-depth feeling of a wartime shooter, and the other is for people who want the skin of a wartime shooter, but also want to be able to just have fun and get kills easier. Need for Speed has been doing this same thing for decades, letting people drive crazy around the track and they don't immediately spin out and crash into a fireball. Why change it? Those are not the things that need to actually be changed. You also have to keep in mind that games like Forza and Crew have been doing this stuff for years and have pretty much perfected how close they want to get to realism while still letting players get away with a little bit. Those games already satisfy its own type of audience. And if Need for Speed were to go that way as well, it would really be under the shadow of those 2 other giants in the racing genre. If a Need for Speed game were to drop and they went full Simcade like the others, I think it wouldn't turn out as good as some of y'all think it would, considering they haven't been specializing in it pretty much at all. That's like you swimming one time in your entire life and then having the genius idea to go swimming in a fast river. You're gonna drown, bro. Just like how Need for Speed will probably get swept by the competition. Remember, Need for Speed is still as popular as it is because of the itch it scratches that no other games have the ability to scratch. You're not able to escape from cops by doing some weird animated car tricks in Forza or Crew, but you could do it in Unbound, you could do it in all the other Need for Speed games. You can't crash and battle other racers with the same intensity in Forza and Crew, especially if you have realistic damage on in the former. You get hit once or twice in Forza and now your spoiler is off, so now your car is losing downforce. What about when it rains and the roads are wet, or even worse, it snows, because it does snow in Forza and in Crew, and you get no traction. In Need for Speed, even if the road is wet, the cars still handle like it's dry, and that is what makes it fun. People don't want to have to think about slowing down in a game like that due to weather conditions. Imagine running from the cops, right? And all of a sudden it starts raining in the parts of the map you're in, and now you gotta slow down so you don't crash into a guardrail and lose all your money and Ultimate Plus parts. That completely ruins the immersion and experience of being an outlaw and living in the fast lane. You're not living in the fast lane. I mean, at that point, you're living in the slow and safe lane. Another thing is, if you guys notice, all the Simcade games follow the same formula with that festival type of thing. In my opinion, That is because the Simcade racing style fits with that more than an outlaw type of style. Simcade complements a legal way of racing because it is closer to how you would actually race in real life than if it were full arcade and you're going 400 miles per hour around turns and using burst knobs to not die. What does the festivals have in abundance? Legal racetracks and paths where you have to drive fast but also carefully. You have racers taking the lines precisely and also using braking zones to maintain speed and not lose control around bends. So when you ask for stuff like this, you gotta think, will this even fit with the theme of Need for Speed and the illegal street racer way of life? Will driving like how you would around a track in real life fit with escaping cops and driving through a city at night? As far as I'm concerned, driving in Need for Speed, you are not concerned with braking and racing lines to the extent of Forza or Crew. The next big thing that wouldn't even make sense is the handling. And by handling, I don't mean the handling model. I am talking about how people want the handling for each car to be fleshed out. Dude, people are happy with the slider for grip and drift, the downforce slider, the steering sense slider, and a button for traction control. We do not need all of those different sliders that impact the car in different ways. It seems like people are forgetting that this series is an arcade racer. It is meant to be easy. You are meant to be able to throw a bunch of parts around and create something in 10 seconds and then go race with it. You are trying to make Need for Speed Lego when in reality it's Mega Blocks. Why on God's green earth do we need a slider for wheel pressure? Now granted, from the posts I have been seeing, they haven't been asking for things on the level of Gran Turismo, which if you haven't seen the handling customization on that game, it is genuinely insane. I kid you not, you need an aerospace engineering degree to even start the process of understanding what everything does in that game. You got things so advanced that you can even tune how much boost the supercharger and turbochargers give to the car. You gotta do oil changes and clean the car or it starts to perform worse over time. Every time I play that game, it doesn't just feel like I got a car in real life, it feels like I got a car that I gotta take care of in game too. I am honestly surprised they don't got insurance payments and car payments in that game as well. But even if you look at what Crew and Forza offer, they offer way more for every single car in the game than Need for Speed does. Keep in mind, they are doing the realism thing more than the arcade thing. So they want players to experience what it is if a car has stiff suspension on the rear and loose in the front. They want people to know what it's like if you have different types of tire pressure and what it's like if the camber actually mattered. In Unbound, you had that stupid period in time where people thought camber actually did something to the car. And it turned out what? It was purely cosmetic. This is not a Simcade, people. Let's kill that idea today, right now. To turn the next Need for Speed game into a Simcade is asking a lot of the dev team, which may or may not even exist at this point in time. You want every single car in the game, all 100 plus of them, to not only have their own handling model, but also have distinct features with weight distribution and all of that. Because remember, if the weight plays a big part in Need for Speed now, which it does by the way, that's why the Ford Raptor and Range Rover can't beat the Regera, imagine if we turned Need for Speed into a Simcade. Now by all means, I am not calling this idea a bad idea, I just don't think it is a very smart one if you consider all of the player base and how they don't like things to change drastically. This community is filled with a bunch of old heads and adult children who can't imagine change in 2025. So think about how that would go over with them. You had people complaining night and day about cars having animated tire smoke of all things. And you think changing the entire handling model from arcade to Simcade would go over well? Let's get off those drugs, my boy, and find help. Even though this new game is light years away from production even starting, I think the best course of action is to not have the dev team change yet another thing that could make the game worse off than what it would be on release. Keep the same formula and just add smaller new things that do not impact the original sparkle of playing a Need for Speed game, which is illegal street racing, arcade feeling, and customization. And the funny part about those things is that making a game like Forza and Crew clone would impact every single one of those things. So that's just my thoughts on it. Let me know how y'all feel in the comments below. If you enjoyed, make sure to go ahead and drop a like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.